Good morning and welcome to a Friday edition of Pot Up with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. We got a great show lined up for you today. It's going to be a golf version. Here momentarily, we're going to be joined by John Reger Jr., talking golf here in the Gainesville area, all the stuff that he has done throughout his career. And then later in the program, we're going to be joined by John Darr Sr., member of the 1968 first ever national championship team at the University of Florida. Some news and notes yesterday around the sports world. It reports that the Big Ten they're only going to play, if we play football, conference games. And the ACC basically delayed everything until September 1st. Playing only conference games makes absolutely no sense to me. Think about if the SEC decides to do that. That means no Florida State. It's a bus ride. If you're going to play, you play the entire season. I don't quite understand why you would only play conference games. So we'll talk more about that later next week when we get more information. But now we're going to go straight to the Titan MR hotline, and we're joined by John Reger Jr. Good morning, John. How are you?
Good morning, Shane. How you doing this morning?
We're doing well. I appreciate you joining the program and talking golf, which is one of my favorite sports of all time. Let everybody know, I mean, you've coached, you've been at different courses around the state. Talk a little bit about some of those places and what you're up to now.
Well, I've had a unique career, and I think the golf business in the last 4 years has lended the opportunity for PJ golf professionals like myself to do just about anything. Used to be, as a PJ golf professional, either you played on the tour or you worked at a club. And there's a lot of diverse career paths that golf professionals have taken over the last 40 years because of the expansion of golf. I've had the opportunity to be able to serve on development teams and build golf courses. So a couple of them in the area include Country Club of Ocala and Hale Plantation. And we had a club in Brandon called the Bloomingdale Golfers Club. And the latest project I was involved with, and unfortunately they closed it down now, was called Adena, just south of here. So, when you do those kind of things, one of the things that you end up doing is no matter what you do, whether you're building a golf course, whether you've been able to have the good fortune to, I've had a syndicated radio show for a number of years, to be able to go out and do a lot of different things, a lot of different disciplines. So I've been very richly rewarded for it. But one of the things you always do, no matter what you do in the golf business, is you have to grow the game of golf. You have to get young people playing. You have to mentor them. You have to get them out on the golf course. You got to get their families involved, because golf is a sport. There's only about 9% of the population that plays the game of golf. So what you want to do is, no matter if you're building a golf course or you're running a radio show, or if you're selling merchandise, or you're consulting in various ways in the golf industry, what you want to do is you always have to have player development. So, funny story I had years ago where I went to the first coaching and teaching summit the PJ put on. This was back in New Orleans. It was back in like the late 80s. And I got to tag along to dinner with some famous teachers like Peter Costas and David Ledbetter and Hank Haney. And it was, I'm just hanging around them, and they're sitting around the table talking about, what do they charge for golf lessons? Well, these guys, they were young, and they had all these stable tour players going on. And one guy goes, yeah, David Ledbetter goes, yeah, I charge $5,000 for a golf lesson. And, and Hank Haney's going, I'll do it for $7,500. And they look at me and they go, what are you going to, what do you charge for a lesson? And I'm sitting there, and, I'm a director of golf at a club in Tampa, and if I got $50 for a golf lesson, I'd be doing good. But I also started getting in the development business. So my first contract was like $100,000 to go help somebody build a golf course. So I said, I get $100,000 for a golf lesson. And they all looked at me like, what are you talking about? I said, well, here's what I do. I go out and I play golf with the person that's getting ready to build a golf course. We have a good time. I help them with their game. We shave off a couple strokes on their score, and I get a contract to build the golf course. So that's how I teach.
That's a great question. Speaking of building a golf course, I've always, playing so many different courses. There's certain holes that you like on them. What goes into designing a golf course or building it? Because I like challenges. I always curious, why don't they put more bunkers here? Why don't they do this? How difficult is it to design a hole?
Well, there's a lot of disciplines that go into it. First of all, you have the golf course designer. And for example, like Jack Nicklaus might get $2 million to go, charge a fee to build it. Here locally in town, I was able to participate in the construction of Hale Plantation, and Gary Player was the designer. Well, they have design companies and they have golf course architects that work with them. A lot of them come from landscape design, and you can actually get a degree in golf course architecture. And that's where it starts. But you have to work hand in hand with the developer, because the most important thing you can do, especially when you're building a development golf course, which probably 98% of them are, is the fact that you have to go out and you have to have civil engineering. You have to figure out the best way to get out there and have the lots fit. So when the developer builds that golf course, he can charge a premium for the lots. And so you have civil engineering, you have marketing, you have construction with the clubhouse, you have management where you have to literally start up a business with 50 or 60 employees at the least. So there's a lot that goes into it. And so one of the fun things about building a golf course, though, is literally that golf course architect will go out there with with a topography map that shows you all the different elevation changes, and they'll get these giant poles and they'll say, okay, I want the tee here, and we want the middle of the fairway there, and that's where we want the green to be. And they try to map it out, and they do some aerial photography, and they look at it, and that's where you get that artist broad brush, where the architect, like a Gary Player, Arnold Palmer when he was alive, or Jack Nicklaus, they would go and they would see things in their mind. So they're virtually a designer, because all their experience from around the world, playing different golf courses, playing the famous courses, playing in major championships, they have a feel for what they think that golf course should be. And sometimes you got to be careful, because Jack Nicklaus, when he first started in his career, he built these golf courses so difficult. It was hard to play them. And I think throughout the years, he kind of learned to make it for the average golfer, because those are the ones that pay the bills.
John, you've played golf all around the places. And speaking of different golf courses, what's your favorite course that you've played?
Well, my favorite course is Pebble Beach out in California. And for several reasons. One is, you see it on television every year, and it's got a lot of romance to it with the pro-am that they run out there. For years used to be called the Crosby Pro-am, and Bob Hope and Bing Crosby and Clint Eastwood and those folks would go play in that golf tournament. Even today, now you have a lot of celebrities and athletes playing in that tournament. But the most spectacular thing about Pebble Beach is obviously the finishing hole right on the bay there. And I went out there one year for a conference, and I had a choice to go to Napa or Pebble Beach. So I went out to Pebble Beach. It was about 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I walk in the golf shop. I look up to the fee schedule, and it says like $475 to play. So I asked the lady behind the counter, I said, well, who can play here? Well, you have to be a hotel guest or a PJ golf professional. I said, well, I'm a PJ golf professional. That'd be great. We'd love to get you on. But I knew that we only had a couple hours of daylight. And so somebody walked in behind me and goes, hey, can I just rent a cart and drive around? They go, yeah, that'll be $25. So I said, I'll take one of those, $25. And then I went into the bar and spent $50 on a 6-pack of beer, iced it down, and I drove to every tee, every fairway, every hole. And I got to the famous 18th hole. I'm sitting there on the tee, and people drive up and they go, what are you doing? I said, I'm a visiting PJ golf professional. I just, I'm just having a beverage, and I like to watch y'all tee off. Is that okay? And they go, hey, pro, here's a club, here's a ball. Why don't you hit one? So I stayed out there for about an hour and a half, and 6 groups came by, and I hit tee shots on that hole every time. That's the one shot that you want to hit on at Pebble Beach. But then, you went into the golf shop and spent about $400 on shirts and caps and golf balls for everybody. But so I think that it's one of the most beautiful golf courses. So it's my favorite. It may not be the most challenging golf course in the world. I don't know if you watched the Challenge here about a month ago with Ricky Fowler, Matthew Wolf, and them, and Seminole. And I've never played Seminole, never been on the property. So I got to see what that golf course was like. So that, there's mystery involved too with great golf courses that you can play. The only golf course that I really want to play on my bucket list before I kick the bucket is Augusta National.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I was fortunate about 10 years ago. Coach Spurrier, the college coaches have it's called a College Coaches Cup or something. It's out at Pebble Beach. It's for like a week long, but I got to play Pebble, Spyglass, Poppy Hills, and Spanish Bay. but before the tournament started, I got to play Cypress Point. So
Oh, wow.
yeah, I was very fortunate. Head ball coach got us on out there, obviously. John, you're very involved with youth golf. Would you say, like today, just take the pandemic out, but recently, it just seems to me like the younger crowd is not playing as much golf as they did, 10, 15, 20 years ago. Would that be an accurate statement?
Well, no, I think I would disagree with that. And I think that
Okay.
junior golf is taking a dramatic change in the sense that the last 20 years or so, it's been a high level competitive endeavor. I mean, the American Junior Golf Association, sponsored by Rolex, you've got junior golfers literally flying around the country, spending 60, 80, $100,000 a year playing on a junior tour, getting them ready for the elite level, getting them ready for college. Even if you're trying to play on a college golf team now, some of the major schools, especially like the University of Florida, they already know 2 or 3 or 4 years in advance who they're going to have on the team. So what's happened in the last 3 or 4 years, there's been a more of a grassroots effort by all golf organizations. So one of them was the drive, chip, and putt. The PGA of America, the Masters, and USGA got together and created this nationwide competition that's free to kids. And they go and they hit 3 putts, 3 chips, 3 drives. It's like the old forward punt passing kick competition when we were kids. And so it was made for golf. And then the finals are at Augusta National. So all over the country, these kids work themselves up at different stages, and then they end up at Augusta National on Sunday, the day before the tournament. And Bubba Watson comes out with his green jacket, and the Masters gets involved. They putt on the 18th hole. They do the chipping and driving on the practice facility. It's well attended. Golf Channel televises it. But also, there's something called the PGA Junior League, and that's been about the last 3 or 4 years where you get kids together. It's very social. It's not a huge competitive event. What it is, you get a team of 8 or 10 kids. They get a number jersey, with the name of the team on it. They play in two kids play another 2 kids in a scramble match play, and they play for points, and they have what they call them games, and the parents drive the golf carts, with the kids in it, and they can caddy, they can help keep score, and it gets these kids visiting each other's golf courses or clubs all over. So, probably the biggest challenge, and having John Darr Sr. on later on the broadcast is going to be good because he's heavily involved with junior golf, especially junior girls golf, like I am. I'm the golf coach, the girls golf coach at Oak Hall, and he's been an integral part in developing junior girl golfers here in Gainesville through Buchholz. And so, it's kind of a mixed bag when you ask me that question. There's a lot of more grassroots effort coming in for kids that aren't superstars. One of the things I wanted to, let you know about it when you start talking about junior golf, the PGA of America has signed up PGA golf professionals like myself to go through the American Developmental Model training, which is spearheaded by the U.S. Olympic Committee. Football, NHL, Major League Baseball, all the major league sports are involved. And they did this empirical study a few years ago, and they found out that 70% of kids that play sports give it up by the time they get in high school. And they found out, well, why is that? Well, the very first thing, the reason they give it up is because it's not fun anymore. And so they weren't having fun, and so they realized that these different kids at different levels, if you got an 8 or 9 year old kid that's a phenom, and he could break par, and they give it up by the time he gets in high school because he might be burned out. It's too much for kids at that age. It's got to be very similar to like Little League football. You get the kids out there playing flag football first. You don't do full contact and pads, and they're 6 years old. So they tend to hate it. So the second reason why also is coaching, and so it takes good coaching out there, and coaches that have some experience and can motivate kids and organize kids and understand that certain kids need to be pushed in certain ways at certain levels, so you don't burn them out and they hate the sport and they give it up as they get older.
Let's talk about golf during this pandemic. Thank goodness that golf courses stayed open, or I think many of us would have gone insane because, I'm an athletic guy. I like to be outside. Obviously, I love playing golf. Do you think it's helped the game of golf because courses were open? I think the only good thing that's come out of this pandemic, in my opinion, is that you have to ride in a golf cart by yourself. I absolutely love that because you can play faster and you don't have to listen to your partner bitch and moan. So I think hopefully the game of golf will stay, okay, everybody, if you're going to ride in a cart, you have to ride by yourself. Do you think it's helped the game of golf while people can at least get out and play golf during this pandemic?
I think it's helped tremendously. When the pandemic hit back in March, when golf courses had to close down, Meadowbrook, our golf course, got opened up 2 days later. I used to be past president of our PJ section. We represented about 700 golf pros. We had 42 counties that we're in. Uh, and what the PGA of America recruited me and a lot of other past presidents of our PJ section to work with the CDC to help come up with guidelines for golf, because golf is a social distancing game. It always has been. But now it's even more so, where it's a game, very few games that you can play. Like right now, the PGA Tour is back on board, and they don't have fans, but they're playing, and they've had very few COVID-19 positive cases. So they're able to play that sport. So at Meadowbrook, uh, during the 2-month period where the University of Florida course was closed and Ironwood was closed and Gainesville Country Club was only for the members, we were the only golf course open in town. It was the busiest it's ever been out there, but it's continued to stay busy because we see this phenomenon. You've got families coming out. You got people that normally don't play golf at all, or if they play very little, they're picking up the game. I've been as busy as I can be on the lesson tee, just trying to get people out, get a club in their hands so they can play. But I agree with you on the one per cart deal. It plays so much, our rounds of golf are so much faster. It used to take 5 hours to play on a busy day. The other day I went out there with a friend. It was a Sunday. It was a busy golf course. All the golf carts were taken. Every hole was filled up. We teed off at 11 o'clock, and when we got done, it was like 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And we weren't rushing around. We had to wait on shots and this, that, and the other. It plays so much faster with one person. And the reason why is that you go to your ball and you play it. You go to your partner's ball and sit there and watch them hack at it, and then go to your ball and watch you hack at it. You go right to your ball. So, walking is actually faster than playing in a golf cart if you walk efficiently. Well, one per cart now is the equivalent of walking. So yes, it's been very good. Play is a lot good now. We can't overload the golf course because you only have, for example, we have 50 golf carts at Meadowbrook. Well, that's only 12 groups if you have one per cart. So that means that you have about every 15 minutes you tee somebody off, not every 8 or 7 minutes.
Yes. Refresh your vehicle and your brand with a vehicle wrap from WrapSpot. July is your lucky month at WrapSpot. Mention promo code Shane and receive 13% off your vehicle wrap. We're speaking with John Reger Jr. here on the Titan MR Hotline. We're going to be joined by John Darr Sr. here momentarily. Talking about the PGA Tour now. They're back in action. I think this may be the 4th week. But talk about what you talked about, helping build golf courses. When you look at what Bryson DeChambeau has done since the pandemic, I mean, he has beefed up, strong as an ox, and he averaged, I guess it was last week in the tournament, averaged 350 yards off the tee. Are they just going to keep extending the length of these golf courses? What are they going to do for these PGA Tour players that just continue to pound the golf ball?
Well, yeah, there's horses for courses, as they say. And so the courses that he's been playing on so far has been good. I watched him win last week, and he was all over the place off the tee.
That's true.
And even, you're 350 yards, but if you're behind a tree, you're in the water, you're out of bounds, it doesn't do you much good. However, the point is I think what you might be alluding to is the bifurcation of the rules, meaning that having 2 sets of rules for professional golf and for amateur golf. Right now, there's one set of rules. It's the USGA and the RNA and the whole world together are all under one set of rules that guide amateur golf. And so what's happening is that golf courses like Augusta, even they have to keep adding length to it. So some golf courses are becoming obsolete because the players, they're bigger, they're stronger, the golf ball goes further. I remember we opened up Hale Plantation years ago. The driving range there is not a very long driving range, but there were some members there, they could still hit drivers on there on the back of the range, and they would hit into the back of the trees. In 1996, the Pro V1 golf ball came around, and that changed everything. All of a sudden, that driving range at Hale became obsolete. And so we had a letter that we would write our members called the Billy Bomber letter. And what it was is we would ask them to please refrain from hitting drivers into the back of the range because there's a home back there now. And so what would happen is that the guys got it. There's a lot of players out there that hit the ball a long way, and the young kids, they got it. So, and they weren't insulted from it. And the letter was written very well that because of your excellent skill and the length of your tee shots, we ask you to refrain. And So I would have 20 and 30 handicappers come up to me to the side and said, "Hey, pro, I'll give you 20 bucks if you write that letter to me," because they want to put it up over their bar at the house. They wanted to get that Billy Bomber letter.
Yeah. We got a Facebook Live comment here brought to you by Meldon Law, where you matter most. Buddy says, great work with youth by John Reger in our communities. He's a treasure. Thank you for all your work. Ask about his daddy plan for the Green Bay Packers.
Well, Buddy's pretty close on the teams, but my dad played 12 years in the NFL. He played 9 years with the Steelers and 3 with the Redskins. We're still able to say Redskins right now. Who knows what they're going to be called next month. But he was an all-pro linebacker in the early 60s. So he was captain of the team, and he founded the Players Association. He was the first secretary-treasurer of that. And so he served as an active player as a treasurer of the Players Association from 59 to 66 until he retired from football. But his story is very interesting because he played high school football at Lindsay Military Institute in Wheeling, West Virginia. And he got a scholarship to play football at the University of Pittsburgh in 1950. He hurt his knee in a freshman game, like 3 games in. He sat out for 4 years, didn't play football again. He was got married. My sister was born. And in those days, you had to sit out. And he's sitting in an apartment complex in Pittsburgh, and there's one TV, and the Pittsburgh Steelers are on it, 1954. And they were so bad that, his friends encouraged him to go ahead and why don't you go try out? So he had his high school football coach call up the head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers, gave him a tryout. In 1955, he walked on and made the team and played 12 years and became an all-pro. So, in fact, he didn't make a lot of money at the beginning of his career. He made $1,500 in 1955. So Art Rooney felt sorry for him to try to give him some extra jobs. So my dad used to babysit the Rooney kids. So here's my dad's a rookie linebacker, and he's babysitting the owner's kids.
That's great.
So, a lot of fun there. But another connection with him is with Arnold Palmer, because when Arnold Palmer first got on the tour, the PGA of America had this rule: you couldn't keep your earnings for 6 months. You'd earn it, but they would give it to you 6 months later. So Arnold Palmer would literally pull a trailer with his wife Winnie behind the car. And so he and my dad, they're both from Western Pennsylvania area, obviously. So what they would do, they go speak at sports banquets together. And in those days, $50, well, that's a lot of money in 1955. So they both get paid $50 to go speak at a sports banquet. So when my dad retired in 1966, he actually wanted to retire in 65. But Otto Graham became the head coach of the Redskins in 66. So my dad, went back one more year, and he told Otto Graham, I want a no-cut contract. I want to be the highest paid linebacker in the NFL. So he was. For $25,000, my dad was the highest paid linebacker in the NFL. And it was so funny. My dad was really hoping that Otto Graham would cut him, because he did, that's why he wanted that no-cut contract. He'd show up to camp for a couple of days or play one game and call it a season. No, he had to play the entire season for him.
Wow. It's good stuff. At Center State Bank, we put business first. We're the largest community bank in the state of Florida and understand that small businesses need a community business partner that they can rely on. Center State has 5 convenient Alachua County locations to serve you better. Center State Bank, member FDIC. We're going to take a time out here. When we come back, we're going to keep old John Reger on with us, and we're going to be joined by national champion John Darr Sr. You're watching and listening to Pod Up with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. We'll be right back.
Time out! Time out! Hey! Time out! Time out! Time out! There we go. Good.
We want to take this moment to thank all our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills.
Let's give them something to cheer for now.
Our gridiron sponsors are Crime Prevention Security, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Area Rug Masters, your number one choice in Gainesville for all your area rug cleaning services. Meldon Law, where you matter most. Peachland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. Our touchdown sponsors are Campus USA Credit Union, Celebration Point Town Center, The Digital Mortgage Guy, Adams Ribs, Gator Dominoes, Celebrate Primary Care, Center State Bank, Gator Bait Media, Davis Gainesville Chevrolet, Miapa Latin Cafe, Gators Dockside, Aikido America Martial Arts and After School, Darreen Weeby Realtor Caldwell Banker MM Parish, Radware, Style Cuts, Wrap Spot, Ironwood Golf Course, TB Financial, Chris Doring Mortgage, Meadowbrook Golf Course, Darr Insurance, and Pomodoro Cafe. If you are interested in promoting your business on this show, you can visit our website, potupwithshane.com, and click on the Advertise button or call Freddie at 352-284-3733. Again, thank you for all the great businesses that support the show. Please remember, if you like what we are doing here, thank our sponsors and support the businesses that support us.
He's looking, still looking, he's going for the end zone, he's got a touchdown!
Welcome back to a Friday edition of Pot Up with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. Celebration points where the Gators come to celebrate, with premium brands like Bass Pro Shops, Starbucks, and Regal Cinemas, and coming soon, the HBC's new restaurant, Spurrier's Gridiron Grill, and Visor's Rooftop Bar. We will see you at Celebration Point. We're now going to go back to the Titan MR hotline, and as I said, John Reger will stay on with us. But we're joined now by Mr. John Darr Sr., member of the first ever national championship team here at the University of Florida, the 1968 national champion men's golf team. Good morning, Mr. Darr. How are you?
Good. I'm feeling great.
Well, let's talk. When I bring the athletes on, I want to talk to you. Did you strictly grow up as a youngster just playing golf? Did you play any other sports, or were you like, I'm going to be a golfer?
No, I, like almost all the kids my age, we played lots of sports. My favorite sport growing up was baseball. And I played a few other sports, but baseball was really the sport that I liked the best. And about age 13 or 14, I realized that in golf, you get to hit every time. You don't have to wait for 8 other guys to hit. So I got motivated to play golf. My father played golf. He wasn't a very good golfer and wasn't really much interested in it. He did play, but I had some friends that played, and it fit my personality. From the first time I got really involved in it, I liked it.
Talk a little bit about, obviously things were much, much different back when you were coming out of high school to go play college golf. Did you think about playing golf at any other school, or was it always going to be, I'm going to go play golf at Florida?
Well, I was very fortunate to play on 2 state champion high school golf teams. We had 5 or 6 guys that were really good golfers. And back then, Coach Bishop had my high school team come up and play a match against the Florida freshmen. And although I looked around at a few other schools, I was sold on being a Gator really, really after my junior year. And that was it. I knew that was the school for me, and I was excited to come here.
Talk a little bit about, and as I mentioned, in 1968, the Gators win a national championship. They upset, I believe it was Houston. Talk a little bit about some of the guys that were on that team. Obviously, one person, a lot of people will recognize the name Steve Melnick, but just talk about y'all's team and how y'all went about upsetting Houston to win the national title.
Well, the tournament was at where New Mexico State is, in Las Cruces, New Mexico. And the one thing I remember about the golf course is that they had on top of the pro shop, you could walk on top of the pro shop, and with binoculars, you could watch every hole on the golf course.
Wow.
And it came down to, in those days, we had, in 67, when we were sophomores, we came in second. And so we knew that with the team, the way we played, that we were juniors, we knew that it was going to be competitive. Steve Melnick was our top player, a phenomenal golfer. My great friend Rick Spears, John Sale. Rick Spears was the New York State Amateur Champion. John Sale was the Alabama State Amateur Champion. Melnick was the Georgia State Amateur Champion, and I was the Florida State Amateur Champion. So it was a pretty loaded team. But Houston had beat us the year before, And we knew it came down to that. What was different back then is the year we won was the first year that the team championship was decided after 4 rounds. Prior to that, they decided the team championship after 2 rounds. And 3 of our guys teed off in the morning the last day. And Steve Melnick and I, we didn't even tee off till the other guys were done. So the pairings were not done the way it's done today. We did not pair up, did not get paired as a team. You got paired as by your individual score. And because of the way it was done, most of the players played in the morning, and maybe, I don't remember, maybe 30 or 40 guys at the most teed off in the afternoon. So it came down to 2 guys from Houston and Melnick and I out playing basically for the national championship.
Wow. John, I know you got a couple of questions for John Darr.
Hey, John, one of the things I wanted to ask you, you had talked to me in the past about after your career was over at the University of Florida, some of the unique places and tournaments that you played in as a professional golfer.
Well, after I finished my 4 years of college, as you well know, back then the PGA Tour didn't make a lot of money. If you weren't in the top 10, you didn't make much. So I decided to go to the graduate school, and I got an MBA, which paid off. And I did that for a while, and finally, about age 24, I decided some friends kept trying to encourage me to give it a try. So I turned pro, played some mini tours, and then I did go over and play the European tour for 1 month. And that's when I found out traveling and playing golf wasn't for me, even though I did okay. It's not a very nice lifestyle, as you know. The lifestyle of a touring professional is a really tough lifestyle. Even, I don't care if they fly in their own jet, it's still not that easy to be away from home, and it can get to be a grind. Injuries bother you. It's hard to play all the time. But
John, go ahead.
I got some pretty neat courses.
Talk a little bit about, I think a lot of people don't realize you were the head golf coach, I think, for 2 years at the University of Florida. Did you enjoy doing that?
Yeah, Coach Bishop called me up, and I was actually the assistant coach for 3 years. Then Coach Bishop, he sort of retired. He didn't really retire. He just, that for 1 year he was still there, but I did all the coaching and all the traveling. And then I was hired. I was really only the head coach for 1 year. I was hired by Ray Graves, who was the athletic director and head football coach. And I was hired in June. So I was really only the head coach 1 year.
Oh, okay.
But that's a cute story that when we won the NCAA, Coach Bishop told me, he called up Coach Graves and said, Coach, we won the tournament. And things were different back then. Coach Graves told him, yeah, great. What tournament are you in? So Coach Graves didn't pay much attention to golf.
That's funny. As you mentioned, you said back playing professionally back in your days, they didn't make a whole lot of money. And, once you were done playing, you started the insurance business here in Gainesville. And then eventually your son, John Darr Jr., took it over. And Darr Shakow is one of our sponsors, and we appreciate that, as well as Meadowbrook Golf Club. Do you think, though, if you were playing today, in today's PGA Tour, do you think you would enjoy it a little bit more with all the sponsorship money? I know it's tough being away from home, as you mentioned, but it's a little more lucrative these days than it was back when you were playing, right?
Oh, yeah, it doesn't even compare. The money wasn't. Most of the guys that played way back when were lucky to make a living. Even a lot of the top players. It didn't really get until Arnold Palmer got it going, and TV, it was really tough for them to make it. I don't know if I would have liked it or not. Probably not. I like to play golf. I love to play golf, but making golf your business was not really. Turns out wasn't my deal.
John, you got a question for him?
Yeah, John, I admire your ability not only as an accomplished player, but also you're a great teacher of the game. It's a very rare combination of having someone who's played golf at a high level and teach at a high level. I've had good fortune of doing both of that, and I know you have too. And it's really inspirational to see you out there with these girls out there at Howell Plantation and Buchholz High School, because you have really helped these girls out. Tell me a little bit about, maybe your philosophy of how you go about doing that. I know that you're not a teaching professional, and that's not what your business was, but there are people in the golf business, and then there's golf people. You're a golf person, so tell me a little bit about your teaching philosophy.
Well, that's a pretty good question. I think that I give most of the teaching credit to two people. Coach Bishop, I thought, was a great teacher. Very fundamental, just was able to help you get ready to play about as well as anybody I was ever around. And then my good friend that I went to high school with, John Elliott, who's a Golf Digest top 50 instructor who lives in Ocala. And John has helped me too. But my philosophy is I try very hard to make it fun. I certainly never yell or get mad at any of the kids. My philosophy is this: you can change or try to get the setup correct, meaning before you start to swing, you can do whatever you want to do with them to try to get the setup correctly, but only teach or talk about one in-swing move. If someone can improve one thing when they're swinging, that's all they can think about. And you might, as a teacher, and I know you might see 4 things that are wrong, but try to pick the one that's the worst and let them work on that. For darn sure, don't tell them 4 things, because that's when people come back and say, "Oh my God, I'm worse than I was."
Yeah, we call that paralysis by analysis.
Yeah, I really try to avoid that. I think that I think that that's something that is very, very disappointing when players get out there and they become mechanical, and then you have people like Bubba who's out there going, "I don't think about anything, I just hit it."
Yeah. At Chris Doring Mortgage, they do mortgage lending right, helping home buyers throughout Gainesville and North Central Florida. Call Chris Doring Mortgage today at 352-244-0840. John, I ask you this. So I graduated in 92. I want to say the university golf course, was it pretty much the same layout in 92 as it was when you guys played in there in 68?
Oh, gosh, no.
It wasn't? Okay, because the reason I was going to ask you is because 10, 15 years ago, I can't remember how long, they redid the UF golf course, and I think it's spectacular now. So what I was going to ask you is, some old timers don't like change. Do you like the way the new course is laid out, or no?
Oh, I think it's a good golf course for sure. There's a couple holes that I don't like particularly well compared to the old holes, but it's certainly a golf course that challenges you for sure. It's a hard golf course now. I thought it was pretty difficult before, but it was a Donald Ross design, and for a while that was. And John will tell you this: Donald Ross designs were sort of poo-pooed for a while, and then all of a sudden, some years ago, original Donald Rosses have come back, and now they're treasures. So I'm not so sure that the old course wouldn't have been fine, but I mean, this may be hard to believe, but when we were freshmen, the fairways at the university golf course were made of St. Augustine grass.
Oh, dear Lord. Really?
So, the world was so different then. it was it certainly wasn't easy to shoot a good score.
Yeah, St. Augustine grass, and I can't even imagine having to get a ball out of that. Let me ask you both, you guys, this, because I think golf's the greatest sport in the world. And the reason I say that is because you can play it at any age, forever, how long you want. But there's rules that you play by. You know, you don't throw a touchdown pass and it's called back because the the umpire called holding on the right guard. You know, there's not controversial calls in a basketball game or balls and strikes in baseball. You have rules you play by, and you play by them. Have you guys, whether it was in a high school tournament, college tournament, or professionally, have y'all ever caught anybody cheating?
When
you don't have to say who it was.
Well, when I was coaching, I happened to be walking out watching my guys play, and I just happened to see this one kid who's the number one player on this team, and he moved the ball from behind a tree.
Oh, man.
And I didn't say anything to anybody, but I did go to his coach and say, "Coach, I want you to know you got a problem. Your number one player." And he was very defensive and didn't believe it. But yeah, it goes on.
Yeah, and I agree with that too. You know, the more you coach, the more players. You know, most of the time it's just not understanding what the rules of golf are is probably the best way to describe that. But there are on occasions, and so what happens is the best thing you can do, especially with young people, is make sure that they understand the rules. I highly recommend that any golfer out there, and especially junior golfers, download that USGA rules app. That's got videos on it now, and they actually have taken the rule book into a condensed version with illustrations in it called the Players Edition. I experienced this when I was my first 2 years of college. I went to Hillsborough Community College. In those days, you would go to community college your first 2 years so you could go on to a 4-year school. There used to be, before Title IX, about 26 junior colleges in the state of Florida that had junior college teams. And so I went on to the College of Charleston. But I remember Brevard was the number one team in the country, and they would win the national championship just about every year. And we would have matches. You know, now you have tournaments you play in most of the time, but we'd have head-to-head matches. And our number one player had a ping putter, which is bronze, and he had a penny, which was bronze. And on the greens, somehow he figured out a way to move his ball mark and no one would see it. And so he would do that. And so I remember we beat Brevard. So we beat him. It's the only team that beat him that year. We beat him like by a shot. And then we found out like 2 hours later, you know, the drinking age was a lot lower in those days. And we were having some draft beer at the pub, and we got notified that we had to forfeit our match because our number one player cheated. And it was devastating, you know, and in fact, that golfer never recovered, never played golf again. So yeah, it does happen. But the good news is, and it's coaches like John or myself or others that we want these kids to make sure they understand the rules. But when you see something wrong, you got to call it. And it's not the most pleasant thing. And everybody gets upset with us if, you know, they think we're the Karens of the world and we're trying to overdo it. But you got to play by the rules, because you're the only one as a golfer that can enforce the rules. You know, it's not, you don't have a line judge out there. You don't have a referee. You don't have anybody throwing flags. You got to throw the flag on yourself.
Yeah. So real quick, we got a text here on the Titan MR text line. It comes from Joe. He says, ask both if they have played with the HBC and if you have any good Spurrier stories playing golf. So now, John, Darr, I know you were in school with Coach Spurrier. Did y'all have any heated matches out at the UF golf course back in the day?
Coach Spurrier used to like to putt for quarters on the putting green. But my favorite story about Coach Spurrier was when I was a freshman, this kid named Orr would be out playing golf. And I didn't know who Orr was. I was a freshman. Nobody told me. And of course, as you probably know, when he was young, everybody, that's Steve's middle name, and everybody called him Orr. I had no idea that he was the quarterback. Yeah, Steve Melnick would bring Steve out to the course, and Melnick was so good, he was hard to beat by himself, much less two of us. So Spears and I would play matches against Melnick and Spurrier some, and we thought it was a lot of money. We were playing for $1, but back then that was a lot of money, I guess.
John Reger, you got any stories of Coach Spurrier?
Yeah, when Coach Spurrier was just leaving the NFL, my dad was just leaving the NFL, and Coach Spurrier went into the NFL. They kind of knew each other, and when Coach Spurrier got out of the NFL, he would play some charity golf, and my dad would play charity golf. They play in these NFL alumni tournaments and raise some money for some kids. And so I remember one year I got to play in a golf tournament that he was in, and we had a bet for $5. All right. And Coach Spurrier does not like to lose a golf bet, and I don't care for what amount. Coach Spurrier's, I think he's done pretty well in life, but for $5 to lose on the golf course, and not only to add injury to insult, I made him sign that $5 bill. So I wanted to make sure I have that in hand. So that, but he's very competitive. I remember Scotty one day was playing in the Tom's Junior Golf Tournament, and we're on the first hole at the old West End Golf Club. And so my son's playing, and so the head ball coach and I, we're walking down the fairway, we're watching. Scotty makes a putt for par on the first hole, and Spurrier's out there just clapping and cheering and jumping up and down. And I say, Coach, this is golf, man. I mean, it's great. I love the enthusiasm, but it was really like embarrassing because he was so intense and so competitive. But it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, he's a different dude, no question about it. So, John Darr, so let's go back to your national championship years. And then Florida won another national title. And how many they've won? 2 or 3 in golf?
I think they won 3.
3, okay. Because I like to do this with football. We always go back to the national title team, whether it's 96, 06, or 08, who would win if they all played. So between your national title team and the other 2 in golf, who do you think would win?
Well, I'm going to be biased and probably say that I thought that our team was exceptionally deep. One of the things that's pretty interesting is the way they decide a national championship now. When we played, you took the low 4 scores, add them up, and that's the team score. Not this low score each day stuff. And then they changed to 3 rounds to go to the top 8, and then they go to match play. So I think the players that play college golf now have a little different mindset than the mindset that we had when we played. So they can decide a U.S. Open in 4 rounds, but the NCAA in their wisdom now have it narrowed down to 6 rounds. That makes no sense to me. You play stroke play all year, and then the final 3 matches decide the national championship. That would kind of be like going from touch football to tackle, as far as I'm concerned. So I don't understand it.
Yeah, I didn't really know that that's how they did it. And you brought up match play, and I think match play is okay every now and then, but it's not really golf. Is that fair to say? I mean, because when you tee it up, you're trying to shoot the best score you possibly can. Do you like match play? I want both of y'all to answer that.
Well, match play is a great game for a variety of reasons, and there's a reason why the tour doesn't play match play all the time, and the reason for that is because you, just like John said, it's like you want to see the person with the lowest score win, and match play is a great competitive competition. Actually, it's great for gambling. Not that you're supposed to gamble when you play golf, okay? But
nobody
we don't gamble, we just wager maybe or something. But it's just fun to do match play head to head. Our kids in our junior league, they play match play. Because match play also gives a chance for a golfer, if you mess up on a hole, you didn't blow the whole tournament. But it's a different type of format. It's a lot of fun, but also match play, like on the PGA Tour, even the LPGA Tour, you could have your 5 top players, the 5 stars that everybody wanted to come see that week, out. I mean, Tiger could lose his match the first day and he's gone for the tournament, and nobody wants to watch a match at the end of the week with 2 journeyman golfers.
Mr. Darr, your thoughts on match play? Are they the same?
Yeah, I don't think match play finds the best player, and particularly in college golf, where if you have 2 really great players, when it goes to match play, you're 2 great players who might win by a lot of holes, and then your players 3, 4, and 5 lose, and you lose the match. Where if it would have been stroke play, your 1 and 2 player would have put you far enough ahead that 3, 4, and 5 hang on to win. So I'm not a fan of the NCAA's going to match play. I think match play is fine for casual golf, but I don't like it for finding the best player.
Yeah. Well, I've had a great time talking golf with you two guys. It's been a lot of fun. I appreciate you taking the time to join us today. Y'all hit them straight. I know y'all both playing today probably. I'm actually going to tee it up today as well. But hopefully maybe all three of us can get together one day and tee it up.
Well, Shane, I've heard you're very proficient on the golf course these days. You're getting better and better. So I need two aside from you if we tee it up next time.
Well, we'll see about that. But you guys be safe. Really appreciate you joining the program, and we'll talk to y'all soon.
All right. It's been a pleasure.
Yep. We're going to take our final time out of the program here. When we come back, we're going to wrap this week up. You're watching and listening to Pot Up with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. We'll be right back.
Time out! Time out! Hey! Time out! Time out! Time out! There we go. Good.
We want to take this moment to thank all our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills.
Let's give them something to cheer for now.
Our gridiron sponsors are Crime Prevention Security, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Area Rug Masters, your number one choice in Gainesville for all your area rug cleaning services. Meldon Law, where you matter most. Peachland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. Our touchdown sponsors are Campus USA Credit Union, Celebration Point Town Center, The Digital Mortgage Guide, Adams Ribs, Gator Dominoes, Celebrate Primary Care, Center State Bank, Gator Bait Media, Davis Gainesville Chevrolet, Miapa Latin Cafe, Gators Dockside, Aikido America Martial Arts and After School, Darreen Weeby Realtor Caldwell Banker MM Parish, Radware, Style Cuts, Wrap Spot, Ironwood Golf Course, TB Financial, Chris Doring Mortgage, Meadowbrook Golf Course, Darr Shakow Insurance, and Pomodoro Cafe. If you are interested in promoting your business on this show, you can visit our website, potupwithshane.com, and click on the Advertise button or call Freddie at 352-284-3733. Again, thank you for all the great businesses that support the show. Please remember, if you like what we are doing here, thank our sponsors and support the businesses that support us.
He's looking, still looking. He's going for the end zone. He's got a touchdown!
Welcome back to Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Peachland Dentistry, Gator Nation's number one choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte and the surrounding areas. Visit them at peachlanddental.com. Also, This Day in Sports is brought to you by Area Rug Masters. Don't fight your area rugs. Take them to Area Rug Masters. With their convenient curbside services, you will never need to go anywhere else. Call 352-448-5999. This Day in Sports, back in 1953 at the British Open, Ben Hogan wins his only appearance of the Open Championship. And I meant to ask those guys, it's amazing. It says that's the only time he ever played in the British Open, and he won it. So that was a little surprising to me. Don't forget to make sure you like us and follow us. Follow us on Facebook Live. Check us out on Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. Next week's program, quick lineup: Gene Chiswick, John Kitna, Kes McCorvey, Galen Hall, and Will White, and many other media guests as well. Be safe out there, folks. Today's show is a wrap, brought to you by Wrap Spot. We'll see you next week. Take care.